In this video we'll be covering foundation options. Now here's where we left off in the last video, and we're going to create our foundations. Alright, so I'm going to go to my build menu, going to floor, and then build foundation. In the build foundation dialog, you'll see that we have walls with footings currently selected, so it'll give me stem walls with footings underneath them. We have an option to hang the first floor platform inside foundation walls if we wanted to. We're not going to do that today. If we have a slab anywhere, it's going to give us a 4-inch slab. And our stem walls right now are going to be 37.5 inches. And notice that this does include a 1.5-inch sill plate. And here we have the garage options. The garage floor to stem wall top means that we'll have a 12-inch curb around. And the minimum garage height means that the minimum stem wall height for the garage is going to be 24 inches, regardless of what is currently set for the house up here. So I'll go ahead and click OK and see what our default foundation options give us. You'll get this dialog, derive a new foundation plan from the first floor plan. Basically this means that the foundation walls are going to mimic the locations of our first story walls. I'll go ahead and click OK. And here we have our basic foundation. If I go into that floor overview, perspective floor overview, I can do that from 3D, create perspective view, perspective floor overview. And we can see that we have just stem walls. Now most of the time, we want a slab underneath our garage. In order to get that, we have to specify the room as a garage. So let me go ahead and close out of this view. Go back up to my first floor. This is my floor control. We have an arrow down, the number, and an arrow up. We'll go back up to the first floor. If I press my space bar, it'll take me back to my select objects arrow. Right now, since I don't see an arrow on my cursor, I just see my crosshair. It's because I still have a tool active. When I hit my space bar, it's the same as going up to this select objects tool, which basically means I don't have any tools active. I'm free to do whatever I need to do. When I click in the middle of a room, it highlights. If I double click, it'll open up the room specification dialog. Right now, this room type says it's unspecified. I'm going to click this drop down arrow here and change it to a garage, and I'll click OK. Now I'm going to rebuild my foundation. So I'll go back to Build, Floor, Build Foundation. I'll leave the settings the same way as we had before. I'll click OK. It tells me that I have a foundation already and it'll be wiped out to replace with this new foundation, which is exactly what I want. So I'll click OK. Derive new foundation from first floor plan again. Yes. And now I have a different sort of foundation where I have it split between, and it has a bearing wall in the middle that separates my garage from the rest of the house. If I go back into that perspective floor overview again, you'll see that we have a slab for the garage now. You can see that garage curb. So I'll go ahead and close out of this view, and let's do a different kind of foundation. We're going to go back to Build, Floor, Build Foundation. Now let's say I want to do a monolithic slab. So it'll put a slab under everything for me. The slab will be 4 inches. The garage floor is going to be 3.5 inches lower than the main structure. I'll go ahead and click OK. Once again, any work on the foundation plan will be lost. That's perfectly fine because I wanted to have a different foundation. And you'll notice that I have my slab here, and my garage is a slab with a bit of a stem wall. I'll go back to that floor overview, and we'll see our slab, and we see our garage with our 3.5-inch sunken floor there. Alright, let's try a different foundation. I'll go back to Build, Floor, Build Foundation. I'm going to go back to Walls with Footings. And let's make our minimum height 96 inches. We're going to do a full basement. Okay. So let's take a look at this floor overview. 3D, create perspective view, perspective floor overview. Now we have a full basement with wood planking for the floor as well as our garage slab. If I click and drag, we can see underneath that planking, we still have a slab underneath that. Now let's say we wanted an extra supporting wall, bearing wall, going across the middle of this. I'll go ahead and close out. I could grab my straight foundation wall and draw a concrete wall in there, or I could use an interior wall and draw a studded wall in there. Or another option is if I go up to the first floor, I can draw in an interior wall. Go ahead and make it all the way across there. Alright, so when I click on this wall, I have my temporary dimensions again. And I can click on this dimension. Notice it's going to the outside edge of my framing to my drywall there. So I'm going to go ahead and make this maybe a 16 foot 2.5. Now if I select this wall and open it up, I can either double click on it or I can go down to this open object, edit tool down here. In the wall specification, I am going to go to structure, and in here we have an option to make this wall a bearing wall. And it tells the software that it needs to have an extra supporting wall underneath it when we build our foundation again. So I'll go ahead and click OK. And then I'm going to rebuild the foundation. Build, floor, build foundation. We're going to leave all the settings the same. I'm still doing the 96-inch foundation walls there. We'll click OK on our little dialogues that come up. And now we have a bearing wall that's supporting that. If I go into my floor overview again, you can see that we have our bearing wall supporting our first story wall. And if I go up a level, we can see the first floor walls sitting there as well. Now let's say that one of these is going to be a crawl space, one is going to be a full basement, and one is going to be our garage slab. We can certainly do that as well. If I go ahead and close out of this view, I'm going to press my spacebar to get back to my arrow, my select objects tool. I'm going to click in this room, a double click. If I go into structure, I can change my stem wall height from 96 maybe back to 37. If I press the tab key on my keyboard, it will update my values. You'll notice that the dialog preview over here has changed. And then I can take out floor under this room to get rid of that slab for that area. And I'll click OK. Let's go back into that floor overview again. And you'll see that we now have a crawl space, a basement, and a slab.